And we're back for BrentoCast episode 37, 1 week and 1 month later after episode 36. Here we are talking about what's going on in the world of Johnny Brento. Actually, queuing up a bunch of work kind of like on the immediate horizon for part 2 of the VIGIL Brothers production project. Dates are going to be the 16th, 17th, and 24th. So basically the next 3 weeks will be dedicated to that on our studio days. And in the midst of all that, I have a performance next Saturday night and also a film shoot the weekend of I guess it's the last weekend of the month. I think it's actually on the 25th. So looking ahead at the calendar, which is something I don't do nearly enough, I'll be busy with the VIGILs. It's actually this Friday, not this Wednesday. Okay, I was thinking it started on this Wednesday. It's actually Friday, Saturday of this weekend, and then the following Saturday. That following Saturday might be problematic because I have a film shoot on the 25th. Hopefully we can wrap this up in the first 2 days. The third day with those guys is always kind of like a bonus date, which they don't actually have to be there for. So the idea, 2 of the brothers live out west, so they come into town and visit with their brother Ron, who lives here locally. I say locally, it's in New London. And we have already done sort of prep work on their songs, and then we'll produce their songs and actually record their songs, getting their parts while they're here, and then doing a lot of the legwork, after they've returned home. So Loafers next Saturday night with the guys, Lee and Harrison, maybe even Tony this time. To recap the June 4th show at Luna's, which was an outdoor show. We rarely do full-on electric. Basically, we brought Lee up to speed. I switched him over from drums to bass, brought him up to speed really quick. Got my buddy Phil Hartzell to fill in on drums, and then also had Tony in tow for that one. And that was kind of like a classic car day festival sort of thing where we just got in a corner out there of an alleyway and played, and just kind of everybody up and down the street could hear us. That was kind of cool. I enjoyed that. I felt it was really low pressure, and I did have a few people come sit and hang out with us and leave a few tips and stuff, so it was nice. The pay was reasonable. Getting time we get paid a fair price, it's always special because we don't usually really focus on the money. It's just kind of about getting the cool shows. And other recent related stuff, there was a drop of a new character at Daz that I kind of liked a lot called Olympia 9. I've been playing around with that, making some renders, kind of the Greek mythology theme, which is something that I always enjoyed reading in high school, but I never really did a whole lot with regards to my artwork related to that. Generally very fired up right now because my Oswolf products have been submitted and are in the process of being tested right now. We got our first feedback on my Oswolf hair product, so I've been working to kind of bring that up to speed. So it's excited, and I'm kind of just up on the whole DAS3D.com thing right now, hoping that maybe I can turn a small profit or at least get my money back. I use contractors to build these, so these are items that I sell on there. So anyway, so I'm opening Fridays up for massage therapy, which is cool. I just want to do this I have a lot of expenses coming up with regards to stuff that I want to do for Delilah. Like, I definitely want to have her in music from age 4 forward. So her birthday's coming up in about, this is crazy. In 28 days, she's going to be 4 years old. And the week she turns 4 years old is the week she starts music training. She's already, of course, in pre-K, already in gymnastics. Both of those well worth the money because I can just see how she just takes to it. She's a very bright child. So I'm definitely excited about getting her into the music. And I think I may also be taking a few drum lessons from my friend Braden. I'm going to start her with Braden for the basic timing type stuff. You really teach timing first as opposed to specifically how to play the piano. But and then I think he suggested it was like we went like this with young kids, sort of like timing, and then sort of like counting, number of black keys beside the black keys, there's the C and stuff like that, before you get into actual chords and stuff. But I mean, that's the first year. It's really just to kind of get her moving in that direction. I have a feeling based on how she reacts to my music, and anytime I have an instrument, she wants to hold it, she wants to touch it and try to play it, and I just feel like she's going to take to this. I don't know, it's just an intuition that I have. But I'm very excited about that. Also planning for Delilah's birthday party. Now, we have had some pretty grandiose birthday parties for Delilah in the past and spent a lot of money, which was great. I got some cool videos, but lots of times I found that, really enough family and friends didn't come to those to justify the level of expense. I mean, spending $1,000 on a kid's birthday, I mean, you sort of expect people to show out. And sometimes some of the folks that came, I don't know, just it didn't turn out the way we expected, I guess. I'm not talking about gifts. She got a lot of gifts. It's not that. It's just, I don't know, it's like it was a little too fancy for the crowd at hand. And they would have been just as happy to cook out, you know what I mean? So we went back and forth. We were going to do a Chuck E. Cheese. So we took Delilah to Chuck E. Cheese in Charlotte to kind of just see if that's something that we could manage. Absolutely not. We had a great time, but it was all I could do to keep up with Delilah. And the modern day Chuck E. Cheese is really geared toward digital. There's not any people walking around in suits anymore. It's all on a screen. There's a dance floor with these little pop-up squares that kids go crazy for, unlimited video games, and just, I mean, it was wild and it was good, and I would for sure take Delilah back to that. But as far as having a group of kids that you got to be responsible for, it is not doable at all. So then we kind of moved over to this idea of getting kind of renting out an art studio and letting the whole thing be art. But I could already see that it was going to be hard to nail down how many kids we were going to pay for and then get those actual kids to show up. So I think we're now down to, and not that it's a bad thing, but I think we're going to go with a cookout at our house, a little bit more intimate, a little more family oriented. She's going to have a great time regardless. We're going to have party favors, and I don't know, it might even be like water themed, where they can swim, because that's something Delilah loves to do and all little kids love to do. I gotta say, her all-star kids folks are absolutely crushing it. The activities that they have literally make me jealous that I didn't get to go to a pre-K where they had that much stinking fun. I mean, they do teach them about, they have religious training, and that's great, because we're not really keeping up our end on that, to be honest with you. But the things they do, like having, a water day where all the kids bring their swim clothes, and then they have like the little cars, the little push cars that they have in their little play area. They line those up and do a car wash. It's just beyond cute, man. And I could just tell she loves it. So, loosely planning a train trip to Virginia Beach. I now have the particulars on how we would need to set that up. And since our last jammed in trip to Virginia Beach for one day, which I really like Virginia Beach, probably the cleanest beach I've ever been on. So something I want to do, and I kind of want to do it this year. Nancy's given me some pushback for that because we have a bunch of other trips that we are already kind of committed to. In particular, we did one of those Hilton Honors trips where you go and listen to a 2-hour presentation trying to sell you a timeshare in exchange for a slightly cheaper rate on a hotel. Really, I would have just rather not done the timeshare thing, but we're set up to do that in September. And we're going to Charleston. That's not somewhere I would normally go, and I haven't been to Charleston since I was just out of high school. So it's a beautiful place with a really rich history and very, very different. Just over 3 hours away from us. So interested to see how that trip pans out. But we have that, and then my birthday weekend we're going to do it in North Myrtle. So I'm thinking I really wanted to do the train trip to Virginia Beach in August, but now I'm thinking, you know what, it might be cheaper and more fun with less people if we actually did it over in December. So I'm going to look at the idea of doing that in December, and we're not exactly sure what we're going to do for Christmas this year. Obviously, up to her 5th Christmas, I want every Christmas to be just a big thing with massive photographs and planned out, and last year was amazing at Baden Inn. We talked about the idea of doing the same thing at Baden Inn, only doing it 1 week earlier, so we were the only ones in there. I don't know, we'll see. if that goes down. But that just as well could be a train trip to Virginia Beach and have Christmas in Virginia Beach. Who knows? It's all adventures when it comes to Delilah. So the 25th, going out to Kenny's to shoot a drone, kind of a drone promo for the car from It Follows, which he now owns and has restored. It Follows is truly one of the scariest films I've seen in, gosh, 10, 15 years. Check it out if you like horror movies. Anyway, the car that's featured in that, I'll be doing a drone promo shoot. So I've been flying the drone lately, getting a little bit more dialed in on using it because, it's been a minute. It's been a minute since I've had any recreational drone flying. And I'm using it in conjunction with Polycam. I did use that to scan my late friend Bill's house, which, by the way, has already sold. So kind of sad, but I'm happy that a new family is going to be using that space and enjoying the amazing treehouse village that Bill left behind. And we have the scans, and I have the photos, and I do have the puppets. There's something coming down the pipe with those, but it's gonna have to take a backseat to Delilah until she gets a little bit older, and then eventually I will be able to do that. Been watching a lot of YouTube lately for some reason at night on my little bit of downtown, and I've gotten into this guy that does 100 days in this or that game. Like, he'll do like 100 in-game days, and mostly GTA type stuff, Grand Theft Auto, but like mods where it's like you're in a zombie apocalypse. So I've actually enjoyed watching that. It's pretty entertaining, pretty funny. So I had a discussion with the guys, and I think we're going to try to do more electric shows this for the remainder of the summer when the weather is good. We're going to try to make that make sense. And I think we might focus on being a three-piece a little bit, where I switch to bass and Harrison's the guitar player and Lee's the drummer. Who knows? That's kind of what we got planned. We talked about it, and we agreed in principle to the idea of doing that. I would really like to start playing with Mark, but I hadn't been able to get him out to a practice yet, so I just don't know if his schedule is going to work out for that. But hopefully, and I really still do hope to produce an album for him this year sometime. But again, that's dependent a little bit on other people, not just Mark, but also Dave Harper, which we want to build it around his piano playing. So we will see if that happens, in fact. But in a really quick nutshell, that's kind of what's been going on the last 6 weeks. So we're going to be moving on to what's going to be happening in the next probably month, and of course that would be finishing at least three new songs from the VIGIL Brothers. One song that I wrote for Ron based on one of his poems, so technically that'll be a co-write. That song is actually called So Many Turns, and it's already kind of come together. I've just kind of got to like put the Ron parts on that now with him playing harmonica, and potentially there was talk of his son singing it. I don't think that's going to happen. I just imagine he is not showing, just based on preliminary conversations, he's not showing the desire to do that, and so it would be me, on that vocal, which is a little bit weird. But and honestly, if they said to me, hey, we don't want to do this song because it's not one that we wrote ourselves or whatever, which I don't anticipate that happening because we talked about it beforehand. But I'd be okay with putting this on I really like this song. It worked out really, really good. Very, very happy with it. So yeah, like in a nutshell, that's what's going on. Baden Coffee is closed this week. Can you believe it? That's been my go-to, and I actually considered doing this podcast in the car this morning because Chick-fil-A gave me a free sandwich and got me back in the door. And those guys are brilliant with their marketing because I don't go there nearly as much anymore because I've been basically just having blueberry smoothies for breakfast in the past 2 or 3 weeks. Trying to get back on as always, trying to get back losing weight, trying to lean down. And that starts with not having a big high-calorie breakfast. But, actually a Chick-fil-A sandwich is only about 420 calories. You wouldn't want to have that and a big lunch. But, like in this case, it'll be my lunch. Got 2 more massages today. And the project today is to gussy up the studio just a little bit. I believe the VIGIL Brothers are going to come over. They want to borrow some guitars to play while they're here. And at that time, I also want to take some photographs for them because I realized that after this section of songs, they'll have an album. And I want to help them put that together and self-publish it. And for that, I am going to need a couple of photographs. Depending on how busy their time is planned while they're here, we may try to go out on location and do a little photo shoot in the next couple days. But yeah, that remains to be seen if that's happening. So, yeah, that's what's going on. Gosh, I don't want to stretch this out. It's funny because I think like I've said a lot really fast. I have definitely been leaning into the 360 camera a little bit on our weekly blogs, and I'm actually kind of looking over here right now at a couple of them that are just playing. And you know, I have all these cool cameras. I think I own 3 or 4. I know I've at least given away 2 360 cameras that would get slightly scratched somewhere on the lens, and I'd go, no, I had to have a perfect one. Well, I finally scratched my RS1 in a stupid incident where I put it on the drone, and it was just, well, I actually tried to, it would have flown fine, but I tried to put in a selfie stick to get it further away from the drone, and that threw it out of balance and crashed it. But it was actually lucky that the scratch actually kind of came up on the lower curve of it, so the only thing you really see is sort of like when it's the lower portion of the screen. You know, if it were standing upright like a person, it'd be the lower quadrant there. So typically I can use that anyway, and I still use it often. And depending on what you're filming, lots of times you won't even see the little blur that it creates from that scratch. So anyway, that's kind of the case with all of my 360 cameras, but I want to, you know, not be so ginger with them. I want to actually start using them, so as this technology gets better, I can find more ways to integrate it into my weekly videos. So many people have become just really great at video editing, and I find that I gravitate toward the YouTube folks, you know, this girl Cecilia that lives in Svalbard. I watch hers, and 2 reasons make me watch her videos. I mean, she's fairly engaging too, but Svalbard is just an amazing place, and of course it's just beautiful. But like, she is really skilled at photography and great at editing, and I find that like the top people, you know, Ava Zubek is another one. I don't particularly find her that engaging. In fact, I kind of find her a little bit annoying because she's a bit entitled. I mean, that's just my opinion. But she is a heck of a storyteller. Like, she is really, really excellent at storytelling and, you know, visual storytelling. So this is kind of what attracts me to a YouTube channel, and I'll follow it here or there. You know, obviously Kara and Nate, probably the #1 couple on YouTube, if not them, Eamon and Beck. These folks all have this thing in common, where they have come to a very high level of storytelling with their editing. And you know, you got to be shooting all the time for that. Now, I don't really aspire to that level of telling every single moment of my life, you know, but with regards to Delilah and what we get to do with her, I really make the extra effort to video, you know, anything interesting that we're going to do. I video it, you know. I want to be able to look back on it and see what was going on, you know, later on when she's older and maybe not willing to spend so much time with us or whatever, or for her to be able to look back and see what it was like when she was 4 years old learning to play music, you know, that sort of thing. I think, you know, these kind of mementos, I'm a nostalgic guy, and I really value what little bit of home video that I have from when I was young, and you know, just learning to make films or play music or whatever, all this stuff. And on the nostalgia note, I popped over to let's see, what does he call it? Comic Jutsu. Old buddy JT McRoberts, who I really don't have much contact with anymore. Probably every 2 or 3 months I'll look at his new channel, which is Comic Jutsu, where he breaks down fights on comic books. And it looks like he had a flurry of activity, which kind of trailed off about 4 months ago. But you know, you fall down the rabbit hole every now and then. Like, I'll look at one of those, and then that'll lead me into the MVP archive, which has got just a gazillion videos in it, and that just takes me right down memory lane. So yeah, he has a ton of videos up already on this new Comic Jutsu. Let me see how many videos he's got. Comic Jutsu. So it's comic hyphen JUTSU. So he breaks down fights in comic books. So give him some love and check it out. He doesn't have a ton of viewership. It looks like he put a lot of work into it. So I've watched a few episodes. They're pretty cool. But a lot of that, it kind of gets back into things that we did together, like you know, the George Romero. He finally American Zombie film contest, which we were runner-up in. But that's actually where we met the great Robert Fillion, which significantly improved our technical game, working with Robert and getting to know him. Really good nostalgic stuff on there. I think the universe is trying to tell me something, because the actual recording failed right as I was saying George A. Romero. I had something not lined up right with my old project that I'm kind of building this podcast on. So I think that's a good indicator that it's time to probably wrap it up for this episode. I do have 2 clients today. The first one starting here in about 15 minutes. And then we'll get into cleaning up the studio for the VIGILs to come over and planning my time with them today and getting that production started. I really, as a producer, producing people who don't record all the time, obviously part of it is level setting and getting their expectations in line, and they're going to have ideas based on what we did last time, and maybe they want to do something different, and try to also listen to what they're wanting. And I've gotten referred. I'm trying to be a little more mature, which, don't get me wrong, I've had a great time with the VO brothers, but I have had 1 or 2 clients that have been sent to me that I probably should have said no to, and I don't know. I've got a client right now I'm kind of considering that got sent to me, and just a little bit of a intuition that the guy didn't like to listen. And I'm like, man, hey, you can go get the studio time yourself and do it yourself, and that's what it sounds like you want to do anyway. If you came to me, I didn't come to you, kind of a thing. It's like, hey, if you like my production, it's going to be what it's going to be, and you can always dump my production, and at the end make changes you want to make. But the point of having a producer is to elevate your project creatively, and that means giving up a little bit of control. And some people have a real hard time with that. But my experience with it has been, every time that I've let a producer like Gabe or Tim come in and care enough to really think about and explain their changes that they wanted to make, it's across the board improved the product of my final music. So I have a very kind opinion, a very benevolent opinion toward working with producers, because I've worked with good producers. But folks that have never recorded, sometimes you mean I don't get to do it exactly the way I want to do it? I'm like, well, you can do that, but you don't need a producer if that's what you want to do. But I digress. It's all about learning, keep moving forward. And some folks, they get to a certain point where they have this vision in their head for how it's going to go. It never goes that way, but you can't tell them. Like people, I'll give you a classic example. I don't like playing to a click. Any drummer that says they don't like playing to a click has never had the studio experience to understand that is an absolute necessity, the way music is put together these days. And I mean, there's something to be said if a band has been playing, like for example, nobody's going to tell Rush to play to a click, because I mean, they're very high level, they've been performing, and there's something to be said for the cohesiveness that they develop after touring for a year, for a live album. But this is the rank and file person that goes to a local studio. That's not the musician you're dealing with. Okay, you're dealing with the person who comes up with a little song, based on maybe another song, and writes different lyrics. So I in the last couple of years, I run into something I never thought I would, and that's people that think it's okay to take like a song and just kind of come up with their own lyrics for it, like they sort of karaoke another song's music. Now, in my way of thinking, I mean, all the progressions have been used already, but you got to make it different. You can't just go, you can't just take the same melody, obviously. And then, I had the one client that wanted to do, I got 265 songs. Yeah, but you only have 3 melodies and the exact same chord progression. So do you really have 365 songs, or do you have 3 songs with alternate lyrics? Do you know what I mean? So, I don't know. I don't want to get too big for my britches. I'm just doing this for fun. I'm out here just like the rest, trying to push my music forward, and this is all just a means to an end for me with regard to getting better to produce my own music. And of course, obviously, coming together with Harrison has made that so much more streamlined and possible without having to get into paying other musicians to play things I can't. So anyway, that's a good place to stop for this week. I'll be back in a few weeks with another episode if all goes to plan. Good Lord willing and the creek don't rise. Hope you guys have a wonderful week, and Keep looking up.
There were so many turns on my road ahead. I felt my young blood burn. Saw my skin turning red, my fingers to the bone. Worked my labors for a hearth and home.